To my mind, gold is not an investment so much as it is insurance. So when you take out, say, fire insurance, you shouldn't be disappointed that the next day the house doesn't burn down. You should be happy. But a lot of people, when they buy gold, they think that they want to cash in next day. They want to get rich quick. And that doesn't work, because that would mean that you insure your house and you pray that your house should burn down, because then the insurance company will give you a nice sum of money. So that there's a difference between insurance and investment. To my mind, gold is an insurance, because we are going into a very dangerous situation, that the probability of the house burning down is very high.
Ce gouvernement ne finira pas. Il ne finira pas. La crise économique va le rattraper. Aujourd'hui, tout le monde sait, tout le monde financier, qui est quand même assez petit, sait que les carottes sont cuites.
Well, this is turning into, from a banking crisis to a sovereign debt crisis. It'll become a currency crisis. And it'll involve the euro, the dollar, the British pound, the yen are all crashing against gold and silver. You see, George Soros, for example, has been buying gold again, as are all the central banks around the world are buying gold and silver, because they realize that this all is turning into a massive currency crisis, and all these paper currencies are going to become extinct, and we're going to go back to some kind of gold-backed currency.
Ils vont tout perdre. Ils vont tout perdre. Tout. Absolument tout. Les banques vont littéralement exploser. C'est inévitable. Strictement inévitable.
And therefore we need insurance. But we should be happy if it doesn't happen. The house doesn't burn down. We survive. And that's my explanation. You don't give up your insurance just because you think that now the probability of the house burning down is lower. You hang on to the insurance and still hope that you won't need it. It's a different mentality.
Désormais, les affaires se font sur Internet. Impossible ces derniers mois d'échapper à ce matraquage publicitaire.
J'ai obtenu plusieurs centaines d'euros pour des bijoux en or que je ne portais plus du tout.
Depuis l'envolée des cours de l'or, des dizaines de sociétés proposent de racheter le précieux métal sous toutes ses formes et à tous les prix. L'estimation tombe.
Donc là, vous en avez quand même pour 370 euros.
Je vais vous le...
Vous le laissez? Très bien.
Ce bracelet, Marie-Louise le tient de sa mère, qui lui a légué il y a 50 ans. 22 grammes de souvenirs, vendus au poids, 370 euros cash.
Voilà.
Ça vous fait pas trop mal au cœur de vous séparer de ça, madame?
Non, pas du tout. Non, parce que j'en mets pas tellement des bijoux.
On a vraiment deux types de clientèle. Quand on a les personnes aisées qui ont des fonds de tiroir, qui ont une boucle d'oreille dépareillée, un bracelet cassé, qui viennent nous le vendre et parce qu'ils ne veulent plus les mettre. Et puis on a des personnes qui sont malheureusement dans le besoin, qui viennent vendre donc leurs bijoux, qui viennent en fait les recycler exactement pour essayer d'avoir un pouvoir monétaire un peu plus important et consommer par la suite. Il y en a pour qui ça peut être vital. Ouais.
Arnaud achète bien en dessous du cours de l'or, environ 17 euros le gramme. Une fois fondus et écoulés en lingots, ils en vaudront le double.
Mais étonnamment, cette frénésie autour du métal doré ne réjouit pas le magnat de l'or. Sa fortune a beau s'accroître de jour en jour, Peter Munk est inquiet. Finalement, vous êtes l'un des rares à qui profite cette crise, non?
Oui, la compagnie en a profité.
Et alors, qu'est-ce que ça vous inspire?
C'est une honte. Une honte. C'est bon pour mes actionnaires, mais ce n'est pas bon pour le monde. Je ne veux pas vivre, et je ne pense pas que vous le souhaitiez non plus, dans un monde où l'or atteindrait les 5000 $ l'once. Sinon, ça veut dire que le monde a perdu toute forme de confiance dans la capacité des gouvernements à régler les problèmes. Et c'est le genre de situation qui mène à de graves crises sociales, où la planète entière devient peu sûre. Regardez les émeutes à Londres ou la Grèce qui explose. Vous êtes inquiet? Inquiet? Oui, je vous l'ai dit. Pour la génération de mes enfants.
I think what is happening right now is that people are escaping from electronic money. The banks wouldn't be in trouble at all. And, you know, all banks all over the world, the banks are in trouble. You know that. And that's because people instinctively don't trust electronic money. They want to have the banknotes, even though the banknotes are losing value, but you can touch them, you can fold them, you can put them in your pocket. But electronic money, you can't touch them, you can't fold them, you can't put them in your money, in your pocket. So people say, no, that's really a dream.
According to you, it won't work.
It is not working. That's what is happening right now. The banks would be in a very strong position if people believed in electronic money. The banks wouldn't have any difficulty.
Yeah, they're trying. They are trying to sell this idea to the public.
But it's failing, and it's obvious. It's obvious. You don't have to prove this. You just have to open your eyes and see what's going on.
À partir du moment où vous avez les monnaies papier qui ne valent plus rien, et c'est les trois principales, hein, c'est dollar, yen, euro. Or, la plupart des clients ont 100% de leur capital en euros. Donc déjà, c'est une bêtise, puisque c'est sur un truc qui est amené forcément à perdre de la valeur. Puis vous avez l'or que vous pouvez traiter comme une devise. Si vous voulez, là où il faut se méfier, c'est que il faut éviter que les gens, quand on leur dise d'acheter de l'or, se précipitent et en achètent 100% de leur patrimoine. Parce que autant 100% sur l'euro, c'est une bêtise, autant 100% sur l'or, c'est aussi une bêtise. C'est-à-dire que le vrai truc, dans des crises qui sont éminemment compliquées comme celle de maintenant, c'est d'être diversifié, c'est d'être liquide.
The banks are wobbly, they are in trouble, and government is pumping money into them, and that doesn't help. And why? Because all this money exists in electronic forms. It's a blip on the screen of your computer. And people don't buy that. They don't believe in it. Now, I tell you something. If all the dollars which exist in the world would have to be presented in paper form, in printed bill, that would be physically impossible to do except over a year's time or something. So in other words, if everybody is demanding paper banknotes from the banks would go out of business overnight. There's no way they can print the money that fast physically. There's no way. I mean, you can do the calculation and just compare the facilities, the printing facilities which they have, and the amount of money they create in electronic forms. There's no way to come up with that much printed money.
Oncle Ben, celui dont les billets verts ne collent jamais, hein, elle est bonne, a décidé de prendre sa planche à billets par les cornes, elle est bonne, est d'acheter pour 70 milliards de dollars de papier chaque mois, ad vitam aeternam. Hein, donc il y a un papier sur le Financial Times. Alors, c'est soi-disant, écoutez bien, hein, et ne riez pas, c'est soi-disant pour relancer l'emploi aux États-Unis. Non mais j'aime beaucoup. Attends, ils en sont à leur 3e planche à billets officielle. Ils n'ont toujours pas compris que ça n'avait strictement aucun effet sur l'emploi, bien entendu. De toute façon, c'est du pur mensonge,
oui, tout à fait.
Puisque c'est uniquement pour acheter les actions des banques. Hein, parce que pendant ce temps-là, les municipalités américaines font faillite les unes après les autres. Hein, donc ça ne marche pas du tout pour le reste du peuple, hein, du vulgum pecus. Hein, c'est juste pour ces enfoirés de traders, de banquiers, de financiers, de vampires.
What I'm suggesting to you is that during the French Revolution, when they printed the assignats and the mandats.
1789. France is in turmoil as the Ancien Regime is overturned and the Assemblée Nationale abolishes feudalism and the privileges of nobility and clergy, declares the rights of man. The Bastille is stormed and the king is forced to accept a constitutional monarchy. A feeling of freedom and enlightenment sweep the nation. The country's best minds come here to the assembly to make impassioned speeches. But the crushing debt is a problem. Some suggest the issuance of notes to bring back liquidity and prosperity. Resistance is fierce. Jacques Necker, finance minister, argues passionately that printing money would lead down a dangerous path and reminds the Assemblée of the Mississippi Bubble and John Law, still in living memory for many. Necker was savagely attacked by the proponents of the assignats. You see, they had a cutting plan. They were going to confiscate property from the church, and they would do a one-time issuance of 400 million livres. You see, this was the collateralized mortgage obligation of its day. Limited, one-time, backed by property. What could possibly go wrong? In the end, by just a handful of votes, 400 million livres of assignats was approved. The second time was easier. The issue was a wonder. The government paid off their expenses, the people got their shiny new assignats, commerce was stimulated, and liquidity increased. However, after just 5 months, the government had spent the money, and since it continued to run a deficit, soon cries were raised for another assignat issue. The second assignat issue only took 3 months to approve, and it was passed by a large majority, 503 to 423. 800 million livres were to be issued. Necker resigned. The royal family fled to Tuileries Palace wearing servant clothes, but was arrested at Varennes. The assignat had already started losing value. Gold, silver, copper were all driven out of circulation, but the people wanted more. In fact, the government issued another 100 million livres of assignats. Prices kept going higher, but people wanted more. It was a vicious cycle. Prices higher, more assignats.
There was a limit how fast they could do that, because they needed the printers, they needed the paper, they needed ink, and they had to distribute it, you see? Now today, this is no problem. They don't need paper, they don't need ink, and with a click of the mouse, they can create all this money. And that's the difference. In other words, we are much worse off today than we were during the assignats and the mandats of the French Revolution, which of course collapsed. So this is going to collapse just as well. Oh, I'm absolutely convinced that if the gold standard had been retained, then this catastrophic situation which we have right now wouldn't have occurred. And you just have to look at any chart, such as price rises, interest rate volatility, or almost anything, wages and so on. they went haywire in 1971. It's crying out that some big bang occurred in 1970. Even if you didn't know anything about the United States to default on its gold obligations, if you didn't know that, the charts would cry out for explanation. Just what's happening? It looks like a disaster, because these curves are exponential, like the price movement. And economists are not allowed to say that the reason is that the United States has defaulted on its gold obligation. So they have to say it's the gnomes of Zurich. This is a concept that there are some bankers in Zurich who are conspiring against the dollar, or the oil sheikhs, the rich Arabs who run the oil wells and so on, or the sunspots, or some things which are not under our control. That's the impression that they are projecting. And the fact is that the crisis is man-made.
We must protect the position of the American dollar as a pillar of monetary stability around the world. I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets, except in amounts and conditions determined to be in the interest of monetary stability and in the best interest of the United States.
The United States has defaulted on gold, and therefore the whole world had to get away from gold, give up gold, and go to paper money, in particular the dollar. That's the explanation. What happened? Why? In 1971, a process started which is now accelerating, and is going to end in a great catastrophe. Well, these have been tried and it doesn't work. All these ideas have been tried, and we are still. And the problem is the exponential explosion of debt. So what solution do they have for it? More debt. And the problem doesn't get better, well, then even more debt. That's what's going on. But if your medicine doesn't work and makes the patient even sicker, then you have to find something different. But they're not doing that. That's all they know, and how to print more money. Well, absolutely, civil war is possible. And the way it would come about is we have deflation. We are going into a depression. Prices fall. Not inflation, it's deflation, which is the big trouble. And that's why they print money, because they think that they can turn it into inflation, so prices will rise again. But no matter how much money they print, prices are falling. And this means that firms go bankrupt. They have to lay off people. Unemployment goes up. There'll be more and more unemployed who cannot feed their family.
Vous avez regardé les statistiques, vous avez quand même entendu que le truc de Coluche là, je sais plus comment ça s'appelle. Les Restos du Cœur, ils sont en augmentation mais phénoménale. Et c'est constant depuis 10 ans. À un moment donné, les gens auront faim. Vous ne pourrez plus acheter si vous voulez, le pouvoir, le Bercy n'aura pas assez d'argent pour acheter la paix sociale éternellement. C'est Rocard qui a imposé le RMI. C'était pour acheter la paix sociale. Jusqu'à quand pensez-vous qu'on pourra payer tout ça?
And these people will not stand idle. They will group together and start fighting back. And there will be big trouble in cities. There will be clashes between the police and unemployed people. And it could just snowball into a civil war. That's entirely possible. So now you said you had one question, but you had two, because the other half of the question was, what can you do to survive? Okay. Well, we started out with gold as insurance, but it would be dangerous to use gold to buy food, and therefore you need silver, which is not so dangerous to show. If you don't get food for paper money, then you pull out old or new silver coins and buy your food with silver. Gold is too dangerous. They may kill you for your gold if you show that you have it. So I would say the next thing you must have is silver coins. But even paper money is better than nothing, because bank accounts are no good. They'll lose value first. So if you start hoarding dollar bills or euro notes, especially small denomination, like 20 euros or $20 bills, you see, that will be helpful. Well, they don't even allow the idea to be discussed. I mean, every time I'm trying to explain the advantages, I'm rebuffed. I have important sponsors in the United Kingdom who would like me to go from university to university and discuss the problem so that the young generation would understand. Don't forget that the last generation in Britain who has seen and used gold coins for purchases was 1914. It's almost 100 years ago. So in between there were 3 generations of people who have never seen it, and they don't even know. They can't imagine what it means. So when my sponsors in the UK, United Kingdom, wanted me to do that, university after university would say, now look, we are serious people. We are interested in real research. We are not interested in researching dreams and fairy tales. We want to stick to reality, and we don't want a flight of imagination. This was the response. So, in other words, they physically prevent the idea to be discussed. And in addition to that, there was no possibility for the people interested in gold to study the real story, what has happened, how the situation evolved, And as a consequence, the general level of ignorance out there is very, very high. So it looks that here is somebody coming out from nowhere and telling us what we have been told by the government, by the churches, by the universities, financial journalists, and so on, that gold is passé. It's finished. It's a barbarous relic. And therefore, I may look to you as somebody who is just getting his information from nowhere and trying to project it out, which is really not the case, because there has been so much misinformation pumped out into the world. That is the cause of this general ignorance about gold.
Alors nous sommes toujours dans les sous-sols de la Banque de France. Monsieur Christian Noyer, merci de nous recevoir ici devant cette porte, à l'entrée des coffres. C'est impressionnant quand même. Ça vous laisse des nuits tranquilles de savoir que vous avez autant d'or à protéger?
Oui, ça me laisse des nuits tranquilles parce que le système de protection est vraiment impénétrable. Donc alors, ça ne m'empêche pas de dormir.
On va aller voir l'or au sous-sol parce qu'en fait il est 30 mètres sous terre, l'or lui-même. J'ai noté 2435 tonnes d'or. Je me suis livré à un petit calcul à un prix de l'once d'or. Ça fait 30 grammes. De l'once qui serait à 1750 €. En fait, elle varie même plus haut que ça. Ça nous fait quand même 136 milliards de dollars d'or, 100 milliards d'euros d'or. Pourquoi on a besoin de ça? À quoi ça sert d'avoir autant d'or chez soi?
L'or aujourd'hui est une partie intégrante, ça a toujours été d'ailleurs, des réserves de change. Les réserves de change sont des réserves qu'on a en dollars, en yens, en d'autres devises. C'est ce qui, au fond, c'est une espèce de garantie. C'est ce qui contribue à garantir la valeur de l'euro, qui est notre monnaie commune.
Oh, that is true.
Do you think it's true?
No, I am sure. It's well known, because the gold in Fort Knox came from melted gold coins. President Roosevelt, in 1933, confiscated the gold coins. People were forced to surrender their gold coins to the government. It was confiscation. The communist government of Russia confiscated all businesses and all wealth. President Roosevelt only confiscated gold. Now, all these gold coins were collected and melted down, every one of them, and made bars out of. Now, the gold coins are never 24 carats, or you didn't used to be 24 carat, because that's too soft, wears easily. So they added copper. So it was only 22 carat. And as a consequence, these gold bars in Fort Knox, if they are still there, were 22 karat gold. That's common knowledge. That the American government doesn't deny that. That's a different story. It could be a rumor, but there may be some to it. It's certainly very suspicious that the American government did not allow an audit, which is checking that the records agree with the actual gold holdings. They have never allowed it. I mean, every bank gets audited every year, and most major firms have to have an auditing from time to time. You know, I don't know the answer to the question, but I can certainly say this is very suspicious, and the behavior of the government is neurotic for no reason at all. If there's nothing to hide, they should just allow this auditing to take place. But I think it was the other way around. Okay. They started with full-bodied gold coins and started diluting it, adding more and more copper to it, and the same happened to the silver coinage. So this was diluting money, just like money is being diluted today when they're printing more. And it was based on the misinformation. They wanted people to believe that they were full-bodied coins, but they were fake coins in a way.